our second Sunday broadcast here at Transcendence, or like I like to call home. And I have some of my students here live in Kansas City, and then we are broadcasting internationally all over the world. We will also put this on YouTube after it's done, and in my quantum coaching groups as well, and you can find those on Facebook, and that is Quantum Life. And there are a couple of different places that you can find us. You can find us in just our community, which is a kind of a free-for-all. I do a lot of work in there, just channelings and broadcasts. And then I have a global forum site that is Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life TICA, and that is Transcendence International Consciousness Academy. And we are in the business of certifying and accelerating spiritual teachers and people to become their highest selves. So today's broadcast is all about this month of November. And this month of November is, I hope, a big relief. At least a sigh of relief that is coming for your future, because it is really the energy has really shifted and changed from what we've been through. I want to commend everyone for surviving the year, because this year has been a killer. It's been really, really reflective. It's been manifestations of the ghosts of the past. It's been a lot of core wounds coming to the surface. It's been a lot of self-esteem issues, control issues, that we are rising to the surface within ourselves. And the reason why is because we are eliminating the false power within us. And false power within us is a projection of what keeps us safe from the outside. Money, jobs, relationships, health. These are all projections of outside security. And when you think of being insecure, what do you think of? You think maybe you have a little bit of humiliation in your energy field, but really what it is, it's about safety. So this year is bringing up all of your safety issues. Who you are against the world, who you are within the universe, who you are as an individual and a personality. And so in our academy for the last 6 months, we have been diving deep, deep into our shadow selves, and we have been uprooting anything that is out of alignment with our becoming. And this becoming process is the becoming of becoming superhuman. Now, believe it or not, if I took you into the past and I showed you who you were before your DNA was turned off and your minds were controlled, your bodies were superhuman. They were stronger than you can imagine. Your mind-body connection was instant. Manifestation was instant. Building was about creation. There was a unity that was based in harmony. And with the strength and power within us, we had a very, very peaceful environment. And then that all changed, and we went through a de-ascension process. And this de-ascension process was a process of us becoming programmable. And with that happening, when your mind is programmed, you become who you've been programmed to be, which means that your personality generates your personal reality. Okay, so your personality, whoever that is, whoever you're projecting on the outside, is creating your reality. And it isn't who you think you are on the surface, because we all are our own hero on the surface. In times where we feel weak, we bring out the arrogance within us, and the times that we feel utterly grateful, we become very, very generous people. But who are we underneath all of that? And in my academy, in our academy that we have here, we are really working to fine-tune alignment of self. What is that? It is a total reflection of mind, body, soul, the me, myself, and I, the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind, working in the total belief that the I am is God. The I am basically is the summoning frequency that leads to destiny. So when you use those words, I am, you are projecting yourself into the probability of that destiny that you set forth. That's how powerful we are. And if we're going to set ourselves on a course of I am, what are we saying? I am insecure, I am in lack, I'm suffering, I'm in pain. And our bodies are really what's left for us to really hardwire back into a place of no thing, which means that we need to get into that super conscious state of not associating with our personal identities or personal ancestral DNA aspects, but we are moving into the quantum field of probabilities where all possibilities exist in the imagination, and the cells are willing to follow suit, which means they're willing to go where your imagination goes instead of where your memories go or where your stress goes, because this is an addicted culture. Believe it or not, that we are so addicted to our stress response and our stress cycles that we don't even know that we continue to create stress because our brains are hungry to feel alive. They've never felt alive through the frequencies of gamma or ecstasy or intense passion long enough to get addicted to it, but they have become addicted to stress. And stress makes the body feel alive. It puts us into that fight or flight mode, and that fight or flight mode makes you become very selfish. Think about it. If you saw in the animal kingdom a rabbit being chased by a wolf, even if that rabbit was a mother, that mother would abandon her children and she would get very selfish to move away from that wolf, wouldn't she? She would do anything possible to remove herself from danger. What if I told you that materialism is exactly that? We have used materialism as a culture to create a safe space so danger won't get us. Materialism, look better, feel better, have more, all from the aspect of not feeling safe. That's why we are a collective of materialistic individuals, and we hold on to our stuff because it makes us feel safe. It makes us identify our personalities. It makes us identify our success. And this year has taught you how little you actually need to feel like your higher self. And who is that higher self? It is that unlimited, fearless, courageous, all-knowing part of you that urges you forward in your darkest hours. This is the month of gratitude. But just like last month when we talked about we don't really heal the heart chakra or the heart until it's been broken over and over again and you realize that you are unbreakable. Gratitude is learned the same way. Gratitude is not something that you understand by having. Gratitude is something that you understand, know, and become very wise about when you do not have. So I don't know about you, but this year has moved me into a state of gratitude because of all the aspects of myself that I've lost. Parts of my ego that I was holding on to dearly because I identified them with strength or knowing or knowledge. And they've all been removed. Because where I'm going, where we're going as a collective species, everything we need is deep inside of us. And if we're holding on to false aspects outside of ourselves, we will never be able to truly move into the unknown. And that takes us into this space of, okay, what does this mean, this evolution, this revolution? Why is everyone finally getting on board? Well, obviously, we've been talking about this for 2 years, and most people who are in the know have been working on this for 40 years. We are moving our collective into the divine species of the superhuman aspects. We are going back to our God selves. The strength, the power, the knowing, the loving. One thing that I remember in a deep meditation about 3 years ago is my guides showed me what unity looked like. And it was this oneness. And I will tell you the truth, my ego got triggered in that moment. Because if you're like me, you've been working your entire life to make a difference, to make your mark, to be something, to be someone. And maybe you've hidden yourself at times and you've been reclusive at times, but there's something deep inside of you that wants to shine your light. And if you think the idea of moving into this mass unity after a lifetime of not being seen and heard, your ego isn't going to be on board with unity, isn't it? It's not. It's going to be like, well, what about me? I just wanted to shine my light for a little while, but until I get, pushed back into the whole source energy mold of oneness. But that's not what it's going to look like. I couldn't see the whole truth because I wasn't ready to see the whole truth. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been shown more and more and more of what our collective is going to be what it's going to look like. And what it looks like is a collective environment in harmony that is still completely unique, which means that you have come to be unique. You have come to put your special little marker on the universe, on the earth, on collective, and you are here to shine in some way, somehow, and still be very unique. Not special, but unique. And so what that looks like is unique individuals, unique beings living in complete harmony. And all that really means is that we will let go of our egos. The egos is the part of us that's holding on to false representation of love and power. It is the part of us that's holding on to the abandonment issues and the loss and the grief and the suffering and the pain. And it resides and drives the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is being governed with and through the body. The body is the biography of your mind. So we're in the process of November and December of rewiring our minds, reminding, remembering. That is what's happening. That's why you're feeling like so up and down, because even if you're not working on this, like completely aware, you're still working on this. You're still manifesting. You're still going through your life experiences that are challenging you. And what they're challenging and showing you is that I'm enough. Every single thing that you have gone through this year has made you stronger, but more pure in strength. Not harder edged, closed off, more dense. You have actually become more like a diamond, unbreakable. And that is pure. Translucent, transparent, which means that your brokenheartedness, your loss this year, your suffering this year, your painful remembrance of the past this year has not made you more dense. It has made you more pure. And that is what your soul and all of our souls are pushing us into, is bringing up these unrooted past memories and the form of people, places, circumstances, and events for us to act out and play, so that we can remind ourselves. And how do we do that? I've had some really good questions come through in our live question and answer that we do on Quantum Life. And one of the questions that I really wanted to talk about in Second Sunday that came up was about aging. And so many of us start this journey, not in our 20s. We started in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, our 70s. And we think, man, if I would have only done this in my 20s, or if I would have only been awake my whole life. Regardless whether or not you're in that perspective of this now, I want to explain something to you about how your bodies work. Your bodies are designed to be immortal. The only reason that we don't activate that and follow through with that is because we don't believe it collectively. We watch everyone else age, we watch everyone else die, we watch mom and dad get older, we watch everyone around us follow the pattern of the belief system of the collective that our bodies die. Now, the bodies are not dying because of belief only. There's obviously biochemical things going on underneath to help portray that belief system. And we know belief systems, belief becoming the lie. So I have become the lie, or we have become the lie, that our bodies can age. And therefore, I tell my body that, and my body begins to age. But what is actual aging? Have you ever looked in the mirror and weren't in a very good vibration, or having a bad day and you saw your mother or your father in the mirror and you were like, whoa, like, I see it, it's happening. Well, the truth of it is when you're not creating in your life, when you're not expanding in your life, you're contracting. There is no, there's no middle ground in creation. It's either going backwards or going forwards. And even though you're going backwards, you're still going forwards as you're backwards. What it means is, if you've ever made a photocopy of anything, right, you know that if you keep using that same copy to make copies, after a while, what is that going to look like? It's going to look a little bit weird, right? It's going to look old, it's going to look fuzzy, it's going to look not like you. And all that's happening is when you wake up in the morning and you decide that you are your age, and you decide that you are your emotions, and you decide that you are your feelings, and you decide that what has happened to you makes you who you are, and you decide to stay in that pain, and you decide to stay in that pattern of suffering, your body does not have to create new cells. Your body just starts making copies of the old program. So what happens is we just make these copies and these copies and these copies and these copies, and then we, 45, 50 years old, we look in the mirror and we go, who is this person? Basically what you've done is you've copied yourself from your traumas. You've copied yourself from your wounds. You've copied yourself from all of those times that you have decided that you are something. I'm not good enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not rich enough. All of these things your body is listening to and saying, are we going to expand and create new cells? Are we just going to photocopy the past? And we're just going to do that. And when we do that in a stress response, which means that we are in fight or flight and fear, the body doesn't work correctly anyways, and the brain-body connection is completely out, and you cannot generate your higher frequencies. You cannot be in a higher frequency in fight or flight at the same time. So what this year has done for us, with us, through us, is it's bringing us to a place of awareness so that we can understand. There's so much knowledge out there. The internet is helping our ascension move like lightning speed, because there isn't anything information-wise that we cannot access with our fingertips in 3 seconds. We can have any answer we want in 3 seconds. It is on us whether or not we're going to take that answer and we're actually going to put it into action. Because putting it into action from this point on is going to either speed up your acceleration and your ascension and bring you into a level where basically your cells start recreating themselves from the superhuman platform of your DNA that's stored all in the higher realms. This is where our magic is. This full moon that we had was basically a gift from the heavens that was helping us remember what magic is. Magic is all about perspective of the supernatural, isn't it? It's using the supernatural to create. You've only ever always used the supernatural to create. You have used your memories to survive. And like most of us, I think we're kind of done with that. We're done with the survival. We know we can survive anything because this year has proven to us how strong we are. And as we move into 2018, we are going to start feeling like who we have always been here to be. The superheroes that you read about, the fairy tales, the heroes, the saviors, the rescuers. These are all us. You heard the call, you signed up, you came down, you got lost, and now basically we're reminding ourselves, and we're using our minds, we're using our feelings, we're using our actions to manipulate reality, because you are here to manipulate reality. You are not here to look at reality and mold your life to fit your circumstances. You're here to look at your circumstances, decide whether you enjoy what you see or you would like to expand on it. And then as you expand on that, what you need to do is you need to unbecome who you've been in order to get something new. This is a difficult process because you haven't done it before. Your bodies are hooked on stress, they're addicted to pain, they're addicted to drama, they're addicted to fear, and you're addicted to loss, and that's why you keep manifesting. Because whatever the brain is addicted to, it will draw forth to itself through its electromagnetic energy. And if you are an undercover addict, you will manifest an addict in your world, which we just went through in class last weekend and discovered how everything in this universe is a reflective object, which means that if I am hiding something from myself, my own stress addiction, you better believe that I'm going to get inside of a relationship that is an addictive relationship, or I'm going to fall in love with an addict, or I'm going to have a brother that's an addict, or I'm going to have a sister that's an addict, because I am generating my reality through my intimate relationships into me I see right here so that I can see where I am vibrating. So the call to level up is all about responsibility. I say this every single month in Second Sunday, but responsibility, the ability to respond to yourself. Your only job right now is to find a way to believe that you are superhuman. I don't care how. I don't care if you take my workshops or someone else's workshops. I want you to study epigenetics. I want you to study the new sciences. I want you to study method acting. Because really what that means is you are taking yourself out of circumstances and you're saying, I am no longer the victim of my circumstances. I am the creator of my reality. And then you have to find somehow, some way, with the will of your own higher consciousness, to believe in that. That's your only job left. You don't have to remember what your superpowers are, or learn to be psychic, or start channeling, because believe it or not, one tiny belief, the belief that I am here to do extraordinary things, and you begin to ask open-ended questions to the universe. What would that look like? What would that feel like? How could I practice that? How could I become that? When you ask these very humble questions to the universe starts showing up with evidence and opportunity for you to be able to practice that. Sometimes that means that you face a dragon, or you face something that is very difficult. And once you overcome that and you realize that from that difficulty you just integrated more self-love, you start to realize that higher self has been teaching you how to do this since you were a little tiny child. It's always been there. But in order for you to even understand what humanity was going through, you needed to go along with the journey for a while. You needed to suffer. But the problem is that your body doesn't know that that game is over. That game is over, by the way. The planet is fully integrated into 5D. Some of our bodies are moving into 60, 70. But if we don't have the thought process and the understanding of our own biochemistry to tap into the quantum biology of ourselves, then we will never be able to upgrade the body to match where the spirit and soul and mind, the superconscious mind, is heading. And that will feel like a contradiction. So one way that you can really fine-tune your own journey today is watch where you are in your own contradiction. You will find your own contradiction in the words that you speak as a spiritual person and in the life that you live. Kind of looks like this. I am the creator of my own reality, but my family sure doesn't support me. You see the contradiction there? Well, if I create my own reality, why would I create a family that didn't support me if I really believed that I create my own reality? So find your own contradictions, because you will find where you're lying to yourself. What you're actually saying is I really, really want to believe that I create my reality. I want to believe so badly that the universe supports me. I want to believe that I'm worthy. But my actions and my manifestations tell me that none of that is true. That is just a program that you're running. You're still running old programs because you haven't done the biochemical work. And how do we change our biochemistry? We change our biochemistry by deciding to level up. Who does your higher self look like? What do they look like? How do they behave? How do they act? What do they do in the morning versus what your ego does in the morning? What do they eat? What places do they go? Who do they surround themselves with? If you were willing to go on a higher self cleanse for 30 days, which I'm about to take my academy through starting next Saturday, for 30 days, we are going to act and become in our daily environment, not in our minds, not on our wish lists, not in our journals, but in our physical realities. We are going to say no to circumstances. We're going to say no to time and space. We're going to say no to the level of abundance that we have created from our past selves, and we're going to start saying yes. We're going to start saying yes, and it's going to be very uncomfortable, because your body is highly attuned to the discomfort of who you've been, which means even the things that you're very awkwardly uncomfortable with, your body is very comfortable with. Very comfortable with stress. Very, very comfortable with getting chewed out by people. It's comfortable having the stress response, because then I can dive into materialism. And I can hide. I can hide in my stuff. I can hide in my home. I can hide in my body. I can generate all this body weight around me. And I can blame time and space. I can blame everyone around me. And therefore, the program just continues and continues and continues and continues. And yet you're going, but I've read all of this stuff, and why is this not working for me? It is all about the deeds. It is all about the action. You are in the action phase. If you've ever watched a superhero in action, they are not usually sitting on their butt. They are running off and actually saving the world. First and foremost, you have to become that version of yourself before you try to go out and save anybody. Just because you feel like you're here to do great things and to be of service and to change the world does not mean that you are ready. Your subconscious and your unconscious mind believe that you're ready to do that. So they will sabotage you. Right when you're about to release your website or, sign that book deal or whatever, there will be a version of you that says, we can't do that. We can't fail again. We can't walk away from that job that's paying our rent. Well, if you're saying that right now, what you're actually saying is the universe does not support me. And the truth of it is, you are the universe. You are the universe imagining itself through your own created virtual reality with the own projections, characters that you have designed before your incarnation to get you into a place of self-realization. All your design, all of your creation. The mother that couldn't love you, the father that wasn't there, the drug addict brother, that's a creation. And who am I because of that? Who am I because of that? Independent, strong, on a search for love. That would be my story. Strong, independent, on a search for love. Search for meaning. What does this life mean? What does it look like if I were to be loved? What it would look like if I loved myself? You're in this phase of your life right now where you are beginning from a place of unbecoming. You're beginning to become. It's going to be a scary place at times because you're not going to know anything. You're not going to have certainty. You're not going to have that, okay, yes, this worked last year. Yes, this worked 2 years ago. You're going to be sitting in the present future going, I don't know, but I do know that I am more than I have lived. My body is designed to heal itself. My body is designed for immortality. My body is designed to change its mind when I change my mind, because every cell has a mind. And whatever you believe deep, 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 deep down in yourself is what your body is acting out for you. I don't mean what you believe on your conscious awareness, because your conscious awareness is I'm a great friend, I try really hard at work, I've got good work ethic, I do my jobs, I keep my obligations, I'm very loyal. And your inner self is saying, I'm dying inside, I have no time for myself, I don't know who I am, I don't know how to receive, all I know how to do is give. And your body is saying, okay, let's make a copy of that. Let's make a copy of that. So get home, maybe later, and look at a picture of your mother or father. Look at a picture of someone in your family who has decided just to continue to make copies. Look at a family member who has decided not to expand and move into their future of full potential and just continue to make copies. And I want you to look at their skin. I want you to look at their state of their health. I want you to look at their mindset around money and freedom. I want you to look at their state of fear. And I want you to then look in the mirror and say, do I want to choose that? Because you have free will, and because you are a creator God, you can choose that for yourself. And you know what? That's not wrong, and that's not right. There is no wrong and there is no right when it comes to the quantum field of possibilities, because it's all choice. But there are several of us, millions of us, star seeds, indigos, rainbow children. We want more for this planet. We want more for our children. We want more for ourselves. And we know that we are the potential that we keep seeking out in the relationship. We are the potential that we keep seeking out. You know, I want to personally thank all of the millions of hackers all over this planet that are exposing the truth. The truth about the sexual side of our entertainment industry. I want to thank everybody for not following the rules, breaking the law, and standing up for this planet. Because as we expose the truth, we realize our greatest potential. It is the ones who say no to circumstances and say yes to themselves. Everything will come to light. All truth will be seen. And every basic of every religion that started off as truth will be re-exposed to truth itself, which means no more separation, no more judgment, no idealistic gods or gurus. You know, isn't it funny when we look back at Martin Luther King and John Lennon and all of these amazing people in the past, Joan of Arc, what happened to them? What happened to them for living their truth and standing in the spotlight? They died. So there's a piece of you that is still in resistance of really stepping out and being that voice to the masses, that voice to your gender, that voice to your skin color, that voice to your song. Because what you have done, and this is how a belief is designed, something you watch over and over and over again becomes true, doesn't it? And so here we say, I just want to, do the work that Martin Luther King was doing, or make the music that John Lennon was making. But there's a part of you, that little voice inside of you, that is designed to keep you alive, that says, no. But here's the beauty of why we came in droves, why we came in millions, is because when all of us are leading, we can't be picked out. If all of us are standing on the stage, if all of us are leading, if all of us are shining our light at the same time, they won't be able to see us individually, will they? Think about how birds fly. You'd think because of the synchronization of the way that they move, that they are an orchestrated leadership, someone is leading, but that isn't actually true. They're all leading each other. And that is where we're going into as a unity effect. So when you stand out, you have to remember that you're not standing out in the dark anymore. You're standing out in the light. Your end will not come from your greatness this time. It has many times in the past, and karma has shown us, basically through our karmic return that we've been reliving all year long, is that we have re-experienced lots of old death experiences and lots of old suffering, and it's come up to the top to show us that we have been more afraid to turn on our light than we were actually of our own darkness. The parts of us that were the darkest, we stored away and locked away so that no one would know that they were there, but those are the parts that we're needing now. Believe it or not, the aspect of you, and we talked about this in our academy class last week, when they try to explain what God is through source energy to a child, they say, okay, so imagine that light fractalizes itself, and these little tiny pieces of fractal light became souls, and souls have their own unique expression now. So if I were going to teach a child that, I would say it would be like a beautiful crystal vase, maybe, exploding into a billion pieces, and here we all are on Earth. But you too are a fractal piece of source energy. You individually as the macro or the micro of the macrocosm. You are fractaled. There are pieces of you scattered out all throughout your own mind that you have lost and disassociated with and broke up with and hidden from yourselves. And some of those pieces are going to make you the master superhero that you have been dreaming to become. Because some of your darkest parts know the secret ways. They have the best talents. They're the best researchers, the best inventors. They might be the orneriest. They might be the unacceptable one, and that's why we've hid them away, because in conformity, that doesn't really help us live a life. But as what we're discovering is as we bring those pieces back into ourselves and we become less fractal, it becomes very easy for us to love ourselves. Because the reason why we cannot love ourselves is because we don't feel whole. We don't feel whole because we haven't been whole. We find a relationship that makes us feel whole for 2 weeks, and then we get upset with them because they didn't do the job that we thought they would do. And really, why I attracted that relationship outside me was because that person that I was unconditionally loving in the moment, that was so ornery and passionate, is a part of me that I won't let shine to the surface because I'm afraid of that kind of behavior getting myself in trouble. Obviously, if you're in the academy classes, this is going to make a lot more sense because we're really going through this. And we went all the way down into the unconscious mind to retrieve aspects of ourselves that we have disassociated from since before the age of 7. Think about who you were before the age of 7. Think about your hopes and dreams. Think about the way that you manipulated situations to get what you wanted. Remember how you wouldn't take no for an answer. Remember how spoiled you were, in a sense, and that's not a bad word, because if you understand how 5D money works, you have to become the spoiled brat again that commands the I am in the universe to its will. That's your job. To become both extremely spoiled and very humble at the same time. That is the perfect point of duality for a 5D expression, which means know your worth, know you're going to get what you want, and not be afraid to ask for it, not be afraid to will it, not be afraid to command it, yet be virtually completely in humility to help share that with the world. Because the thing is the world is not going to get better by your words. It's going to get better by your example. You don't need to go save the world. The darkness is exposing itself right on time. We've picked the perfect leaders to expose what we need to expose, the truths of how we've governed ourselves, how we've governed the planet, how we've run the planet in scarcity and repression and segregation. And all of these truths are coming to light. And as we clear the sacral energy of the planet, which is the divine sexual power of the goddess, we re-release the beauty of our sexuality. And if you notice, it's perfect divine timing because what's coming up to the surface but all the shadow aspects of the culture of the planet that has run an entire unity in basically sexual repression, sexual abuse, right? And we're bringing all of this to the surface in the light so that we can say, no, this isn't who we are. And people are speaking up. People are getting on and using the social media platforms to speak their truth and tell their story. Because believe it or not, you think that your story is not important, but your story may save a life. It may get someone to not commit suicide tomorrow. It may show someone that they have one more day. It may get you a new friend. But what it will do is it will enlighten this planet because it causes the planet to lighten up. Pain activates us to move into our heart centers and really open ourselves to this planet and what is really going on. Because the thing is people go, oh, this planet's getting worse. We're in doomsday. Is that true, or are we just aware of it now? Are we just aware of what's been going on since the beginning of time? To me, I would say, and some of you may argue with me, that it's gotten better. It's gotten better. And the truth of it is there's a lot more individuals, groups, and societies out there on the planet that are doing more to clean up and recreate this planet faster than the devastation could happen in itself. So it's all how you look at it. But November represents the month of gratitude. And no, not because, the pilgrims were wiped out. Or wiped out our Indians, like whatever that story is. Which is not true. But it is about that place of you have been without this year. You have been out without your whole life. You have been without yourselves for so long. And this is the month where you can find gratitude for yourself coming back. You are coming back together, piece by piece by piece. Through pain, through loss, through heartbreak, through absence, through lack. You are actually becoming all of those things because of what you've been through, which means that you are going to know exactly who you are by this time next year. And you will not only know exactly who you are, you'll be full in your potential, and you'll be changing the world not from your gut and from your vision, but from your actions. Your actions are going to start showing up. And so it's really all about, do you want to keep making copies of yourself? Or do you want to create a brand new you? And how you do that is you stop being you. Not all aspects, okay? Maybe you want to just change some of the things about you. But believe it or not, the most stubborn parts of yourself that you're unwilling to change are the ones that have to go. The ones that you actually think make you a good person and make you noble and strong and successful are usually the ones that higher self is going to pull from you this year. Wow, I can't get by with my intelligence. I can't get by with my beauty. I can't get by with my letters after my name. I can't get by with the strength in my body. I can't get by with this relationship. I can't get by. What you're noticing is that all false securities are being removed because you're remembering through the process of reminding yourself that you are here to create a new you from the old you. The metamorphosis is not that you're just going to have no ego. The metamorphosis is that your ego will start doing the job that it was designed to do. And your super consciousness will start recreating and regenerating your body through its genetic design of crystallization. And the becoming process will unfold naturally and beautifully, which means you don't need to take a class to learn how to do this. You just have to practice. You have to practice every day, which means what is your morning routine? What is your afternoon routine? And I would say the number one thing that I would change immediately is your circle of influence. Your circle of influence impacts more of your reality and your personality than what you eat and what you know and the music you listen to. Because believe it or not, the power of influence, we are so powerful in our consciousness that I can alter your perspective to believe in yourself if you spend enough time with me. And you can alter my perspective to not believe in myself if I spend enough time with you. It is just physics. So look at the 5 people that are the most influential people in your reality and ask yourself, would I trade places with them? Do I want to know what they know? Do I want the abundance that they have? Do I want the health do they have? Do I want the vitality do they have? Do I want the attitude that they have? And if your answer is yes, then you are in the right group. You're in the right circle of influence, and you're probably doing amazingly well right now. And if you are not, power of influence, you cannot outcreate the power of influence. You're going to have to vacate your life. You're going to have some time and space. You're going to need to remove yourself from certain people, places, and things that are triggers that remind you of who you've been while you're practicing this becoming. So in this idea of regenerating ourselves and becoming the most amazing versions, who is that and what does that look like? Because that is how we're going to change the world, not by running out and starting some political campaign from a place of victim mentality. I'm not going to go change the world by taking my fear of man out to the streets and trying to save man. I have to totally remember who I am, remove all of my lower frequencies of fear and judgment and shame and guilt and humiliation and suffering and pain, rise into my higher frequencies, and then I can make a difference on the planet. So do you see how the only job you ever have is you? It's your universe. If I'm creating this game and all of this potential is within my own mind, then I can't go save the world from the mindset that I'm looking at the world through. And the funny thing is when your mindset begins to change, you begin to see the world very differently. You begin to see the things that are going right instead of the things that are going wrong. And you get this overwhelming sense of peace, that it is okay and possible for us to live in harmony, in unity, because you will not lose yourself. You will be incredible. You will be extraordinary. You will be unique. And you will have the ability to know things that only the genius constructs could know, because you're pulling them from the probabilities of that personality. Is your personality sitting in this chair right now, or laying on that bed, or driving in this car right now? Is that personality a genius? Is that personality a healer? Is that personality a positive being? A being that believes in unity and understanding and compassion? Who is that personality that's driving or walking or talking or whatever you're doing right now? Who is that? Because the universe is copying your reality that is seen through its own mind. Because think about it. Have you ever used a projector, right? And you're projecting light onto images. But if I take the images away, it's just light. And that light is no different than the light that is coming from the lamps and the sun. It is all light. It is only the pictures that change. So it is your job as the consciousness, which is the projector itself that's shining the light, to choose which pictures you see. It is your job to choose the pictures and then morph your body through basically pretending that those are the pictures that are real, and the pictures that are actually showing themselves to you are not. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Do we have any questions?
Not right now. Lots of comments. Right on. Love it. You're speaking to me.
She's speaking my language.
A lot of people are commenting on the filter.
Oh, the diamonds, yes. Okay, so I decided that I have been in this challenge for 2 weeks now. My challenge for 2 weeks is to embody my higher self. So I changed my hair. I changed how I dressed. I changed my morning routine, my afternoon routine, and my circle of influence, which is still in the process of changing. And I will tell you that if I believe in who I am becoming, then the universe will believe in me too. But first, I have to change. And so even down to, bringing in the diamond filter, this is who I feel like when I see myself in meditation. This is who I feel like when I think about what I can do to change this world. And it is all of our jobs to stop living in the real world, get out of reality, stop listening to authority, and become your own authority, your own guidance, your own creator, your own definition of the personality that you've always wanted to be, regardless of what you've been. Believe it or not, your mind is always going to go back to who you've been, because that's where the pain is. That's where the safety is. That's where the comfort is. But you're going to go into a new level of comfort that I would call fun. Because believe it or not, the comfort zone of the past wasn't fun. It might have been safe, but it was not fun. And you are children of the sun, which means that you are here to play, you're here to create, you're here to build, and you're here to teach through the photonic resonance of your own souls, to share the life that you know is possible for all of us through humanity. So, if we have no other questions, are we good?
I was going to say, you're talking about changing aspects of yourself to find who you really are and stuff like that. And I know you talk about it a lot in class, but a lot of the people that are watching aren't in class. And so maybe what would be a baby step to start changing doing something different?
Doing something different?
Find yourself.
Well, and when we talk about, that's a good question. She said for the people who are not in my academy, how do you start changing your persona if you don't have access to the classes? Well, the first and foremost is, and this is the number one thing that you have to do, is you have to realize and accept who you've been. A lot of us are in denial of ourselves. We project our best foot forward and we hide our true selves. We wear a mask around. And if we continue to wear the mask to ourselves, then we'll never even know where to start. So the first thing is you got to get real with yourself. And when I did this a couple of weeks ago, I looked at my integrity, I looked at who I was as a friend, I looked at who I was as a wife, I looked at who I was as a mother, and I will tell you, for a few moments I went down into my ego and I was very disappointed, because I was not living up into my potential on any of those levels. I was in some of those selfish modes of survival. If you look at the most egoic people in the world, they are the most selfish. It is always about them, isn't it? You have a conversation and it always turns back to them. It turns back to them. And the thing is they don't understand it. Their brain is running from the perpetual wolf. And so they need to talk. They need to tell you about how they feel, because they need to feel safe. If your voice perpetrates them, then they're not going to feel safe, so they've got to project themselves outwardly to you. So the first thing that you have to do is identify where and who you've been. And that does not need to be judged. It just needs to be loved and accepted. Okay, I've been a shitty friend. I was a not so great wife. Not looking at the faults on the other ends, but you have to realize that this is a reflective universe, and so you really are creating all of it. You're creating the fights that you've had with your spouse, the problems you have with your mom. You're creating all of it, just like I did. And you have become the essence of all of that pain and suffering and strength. So the first thing you have to do is accept who you've been, and then decide who you want to be, and start asking the spirits and the universe the open-ended questions of, what is my greatest potential? What would it look like if I had access to all of my powerful DNA? What would it look like if I had access to my ancestors? What would it look like if I remembered who I really was? What would it feel like if I felt worthy? Open-ended questions, believe it or not, is the gateway through the matrix. You actually don't have to be in the matrix when you're asking open-ended questions, because what you're saying is, okay, I know this exists, but what's out here? What's over here? And when you do that, you begin to take your own focus outside of the matrix into new planes of probabilities. And it's only there that you can begin to understand where your potential is. So I would say, what makes you come alive? What superheroes feel most like your archetype that's hidden inside of you? What stories have blown your mind? Because the thing is the way that you find evidence of who you are inside is through the stories that you love. Because if you love them, That is the essence of you. So whether you're a superhero or a fairy princess or a unicorn, it doesn't matter, because there's a part of you that will be part of that becoming if you were actually able to just start practicing that. Another way to bring that into your reality is to pick 5 influential people in your reality through books, movies, TV, music. Maybe you don't have them in your personal dynamic, but you do have access to 5 powerful individuals that you can begin to focus on. Because if you begin to focus on the potential of other people's actions and personalities, you can begin to morph yourself into that, because you are a malleable 5D creator. If you look at the 5 people that are suffering and broke and complaining about their relationships around you, the power of influence is going to give you more of that. So your job is to stop looking at what is and start looking at who is, and start finding mentors, finding books, finding teachers that really are walking their talk and being the utter example of what it means to be absence of judgment, absence of suffering, excitement, passion, ecstasy, creative energy. You know, who do you admire? Because believe it or not, if you would just find 5 people that you admired and then you read about them, because that's actually going to be part of our 30-day plan, is you have to pick kind of the mentor energy, which means that you're not going to become them, but you're going to take a piece of this. It's going to be like a little buffet of becoming, and you're going to find all of these different traits in these individuals, you know, whether it's the writing abilities, the singing abilities, the healing abilities, the talent. Because here's the thing, is everything is accessible through the quantum field of possibilities, and if you start to tap into those greatnesses of others, you will pull them down into yourself, and you will have a unique expression of that. Which means you're not going to be so-and-so, you're going to be you with your unique perspective, but that just was a good reminder for you. Yes?
There was a question on Facebook from David North, and he says, when I meditate and look through my third eye, I see others walking around looking down. Does anyone know who they are?
Who they are?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have seen them.
Do you want to repeat it?
He said, was it David North?
David North.
He said when he's meditating,
Mm-hmm.
and through his third eye, he can see beings.
Others, he doesn't specify what others is. Others walking around looking down.
Looking down. So he's seeing these individuals looking down. What I would say for that, David, is that when you begin to see through your third eye, you're going to see everything and anything. And I will tell you, the further into the rabbit hole you get, the weirder it gets, because there are 12 dimensions that are accessible to our human perspective, and then probably a bazillion more after that. And once your third eye, which is completely open to the universe, is able to see anything from any of those dimensions. So whether it be an angel, whether it be a demon, whether it be an ET, whether it be a looker, whether it be a shapeshifter. So what you're seeing is you're seeing a whole nother collective. And a whole nother collective is a whole nother species doing their thing in the way that they do it. And I live with this every single day, and I see different species, and I see different entities, and I see different beings, and literally they are completely in the flow of their own programs. They are not trying to necessarily mess with what we're doing. They are literally having their own collective environment around. Now, the ones that I've noticed that look down, what they are to me is they're called fillers, and they fill in empty space so that we don't feel lonely, believe it or not. Because there's really only 6 personality types on the planet that we've chosen from. And we also look through our own astrology, and we design our personality traits through that in DNA and lineage. And we think that we are some sort of original. And the only thing that actually makes us original is the consciousness that is completely no thing. So what you're seeing is you're just opening up your mind to different dimensions and different portholes. And you'll notice as the light increases on the planet, your third eye will have much more, much more clarity and not necessarily needing to understand who they are and what their purpose is. But my question for you, more importantly, is not so much do I need to explain who they are to you, but how do they feel to you? That's the question that you really need to ask yourself, David, is when you see them, is there a feeling or an emotion that comes through to you? And that would be a better question for me to ask, because again, there's just probably a million species. And the way that I can explain it is think about life in the ocean and life on land, right? There's a whole collective in the ocean having the time of its life, and then we are here on the land having our experience, and yet we are literally side by side. And it couldn't be more different, that civilization, than it is here. Yes?
There's a new question from Lindsay Sartain, and she says, when your third eye opens, do you start seeing colorful patterns before going to bed? And she says she's also having dreams of being able to fly.
Oh, cool. Dreams of flying. So lucid dreaming, when you start really waking up to your potential, you'll have all different experiences. Light and color. When you start seeing color, it's pretty much letting you know that you're clairvoyant. So when you start seeing colors, it's opening up your clairvoyance. You are opening up your clairvoyance, and the program that's running is I'm Safe to See. If you want to open up your clairvoyance, you say I'm safe to see, and then you better back that belief, which means that you better be okay with whatever you see. And it usually starts with little diamonds and little trickles of light and colors and auric fields and, you know, things moving around the perimeter. And then when you accept and honor that, instead of getting freaked out, it's like your spirit guides will help open those abilities up with you when you believe that you are safe to experience them. Also, the lucid dreaming is letting you know that you are free to go and that you are free to move around the planet when you're in your sleep cycle or when you're in a state of theta, which is a brainwave that basically gets you into the Akashic records to remember a time and place when you did all of those things. So as our abilities start to open, I'm not joking. I'm not like saying that, oh yeah, we're becoming superhuman. Look, we literally are. We literally are. We have the power to heal our bodies. We have the power for our bodies to disregard time and space completely. If our bodies are in a state of meditation, theta or above, theta or gamma, the body does not age. You see another importance of meditation. When you're in meditation, and that means body stillness, body not in fight or flight, body safe, mind active, your body does not age. Your body heals, your body rebuilds itself, and your body actually, instead of making copies, it starts to generate a brand new body that is stronger, that is leaner, that is more passionate, more creative, more more enlightened, which means that you're not going to be in the fear of the past, you're not going to be remembered by the things you weren't able to do before, and you're also not going to remember those insecurities you had about the way you look, because we're tapping into epigenetics. We're telling the body who we are. And when you're doing that, you have to understand that the byproduct of doing that is also not just getting stronger and leaner and faster and smarter, but you're also going to be clairvoyant, clairaudio, clairsentient, you're going to be time traveling, you're going to be remote viewing, you're going to be in a place of super consciousness where all probabilities are basically ready to manifest at any given moment. Yes?
So Nikki McMullen asks a question that kind of follows up to that. She says, how do I begin to trust my intuition and let go of that fear?
Trust your intuition. Well, first and foremost, obviously, you can understand why the work is not to go save the planet. The work is to learn to love ourselves and trust ourselves. So how you learn to trust yourself, right, is first and foremost identify why you haven't been able to trust yourself. You know, you're probably holding on to trauma and mistakes and judgments from other people in the past. And therefore, when you're holding on to all of that, it makes it very difficult for you to trust that anything new could possibly happen, especially to you. So your job is to actually go in and look at yourself from a different perspective of all the times where you had a psychic moment, where you did help a friend, you did say the right thing, you were able to listen to your intuition, because the human mind disregards magic. It disregards miracles very, very quickly, and it holds on to pain and trauma because that's where the addiction is. So I would say you don't have a problem trusting yourself. You have an addiction to not trusting yourself. So how do we break an addiction? We break an addiction by taking ourselves out of the situation. first thing I would do is get away from people where you don't feel like you can trust yourself. You will find that it is people that re-stimulate the fact that you can't trust yourself. If you weren't able to spend time and space with just you for a few days, possibly 3 to 4 days, all of your trust would come back to you because it wasn't being repeated from the past because of who you were in the past. See, the thing about people is they continue to remind you of who you've been because that's their job. So if you want to see yourself in a new way, you've got to start focusing on the times where you did do things right, that you were trustworthy, that you were there, that you were psychic. Go back to who you were when you were a child, because the thing is you're not becoming psychic, you always were psychic, and you had to basically block it away and disassociate from your abilities because it wasn't safe in your family dynamic. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. We had several people ask, how do I start improving my intuition or opening my third eye? Mm-hmm. So I commented that you were answering that question now. And then they said, there's another gal that says, sometimes I think I hear someone saying mom to me at night. Mm-hmm. Said I always think it's my son, but he is asleep. Mm-hmm. Any ideas?
Well, it could be a couple of different things, Sandy. It could be telepathy between you and your child that you've disregarded, which is true. You have telepathy between children. You also, and this is going to be really out there, you also, have beings that are outside your physical dimension that call you mom. Just like we have spirit guides. A lot of us have decided to be a part of the hybrid children movement. And if you want more information about that, you can just Google it. I'm not going to get into it in this second Sunday. But the hybrid children movement is basically like crossbreeding of species. And they're in an elevated state of dimensions outside of 5D. So they're residing in 6th dimension and they're waiting for disclosure. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yes.
Cynthia Collins asked, friends, family closing doors, why is this happening now?
Exactly what I talked about. So a lot of times, if you can't quit your job will quit you. Okay? Wherever your higher self has coordinates to go towards for 2018, higher self will manifest the removal of anything and anyone that is in your way. So believe it or not, even family and friends deciding they no longer want to be a part of your crazy train is actually happening from and through you. You are saying, I need to get time and space away from this obligation, this pattern of old loyalty, of suffering, of pain. I can't be myself authentically. If you're not authentic, you're going to be removed from that situation either by your conscious awareness or by your subconscious and superconscious awareness. Yes?
Yeah.
We good?
Sounds good.
All right, so December is going to be really, really cool because I see that when I look at the collective, usually what I do is I kind of tap into the morning of Second Sunday to download the collective vibration of humanity. And pretty much all year, I've woke up, tapped in, and cried. It's been the feeling of drowning, the feeling of suffering, deep, intense loss, pain, anger, rage. And when I woke up this morning, I tapped into collective consciousness and I felt hope. And I cried, but different tears, because as the storms start to settle and as our awareness increases and the courage within us to love ourselves first and then love everyone else as a copy of that, we can move from hope to knowing. And when we know who we are, that's when this whole planet is going to change like that.
There's one last question.
One more question.
Carol de Herrera says, do you have a book or web page? If you'll let her know that I did update the description on the live feed. So once the live feed ends, all the links to all your follow me's will be in there.
Once this feed ends, all of the links to all of my sites will be in the comments. Mm-hmm. You can find me at jessicaalstrom.com. You can find me on Facebook here, Jessica Alstrom Quantum Life, which is my coaching forums where I do channeled Thursday night class and channeled question and answers, and we teach everything from remote viewing to open up our intuition to tapping into the quantum field and playing in the superhuman realms of creation. So that will all be, all those different links will be in the comments. Anything else?
What kind of meditation would you suggest for letting go of fear and trusting yourself?
I would suggest, the question was what type of meditation for trusting yourself and letting go of fear? Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I would recommend if you have a really intense anxiety, fear, a lack of self-trust, self-loathing, any of these characteristics, your body is not going to effectively let you get into a meditative state, because what that means is that you're telling your body you're safe, and your body doesn't believe you're safe. So what I would recommend for you is to do a guided meditation. And the reason why is if you do a guided meditation, it gives your mind a job. Like, you're giving your body a job, you know, like go down this road and imagine this and feel this and say, you're giving your mind a job because you're not ready to sit in absolute stillness yet. So this would be a great beginner's place to start. And then as you're able to follow through the guided meditations, because what's happening basically is your body has a job, your body starts to calm down because it's going through a journey, it's on a story, it's outside of its problems, it's in imagination, and the mind is now active and opened and can access the superconscious places. So for anyone who has really hot problems with fear or anxiety, start with guided meditations and start with maybe like theta-based binaural beats. We will actually put our app on the comments as well. We utilize something called Brain Tap that puts your brain into a meditative state in 2.5 minutes, and it accesses your theta frequencies of your brain to get you into an ultra state where you are basically out of fight or flight, and then you can start experiencing the guided journeys of the program itself. And so I've got tons of videos on YouTube about Brain Tap if you're interested in that, and we will put the link, and we can give you 30 days for free as long as you sign up through us, which means that if you're interested in that, just put your name and one of our people will contact you and get you all set up with that. All right?
Do you have time for any more questions?
I have time for a couple questions.
Raquel asks Jessica, how are love relationships going to be for beings that are in a higher consciousness?
How are love relationships going to be in a higher level of consciousness? Free from ego, expansive, creative, which means that instead of having to turn your light down to compromise and be loyal to someone, someone is actually going to be able to go with you on this journey, hand in hand, which means you're not going to have to live a double life, you're not going to have to stifle yourself or turn yourself down, which means that these types of relationships that will be coming are going to amplify the empowerment of you. Because basically, when we find our soulmate, and these soulmated relationships, what we are doing is we are getting a reflection of our self-love. So imagine the highest level of self-love that you could create for yourself, and then imagining making someone as a companion to play with that loved you as much as you love yourself, but also loved themselves as much as you love them. And think about the expansion in that. No pain, no suffering, no fear of loss, no attachment, only connection, because we're going away from attachments, which means I need you to love me, instead of here you are and we are connected, and as we're connected we can go further and expansive than we can contract and go down into our own pain and our own suffering. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
But that can only be generated through self-love, because again, this is a reflective universe. You will only be able to love someone as much as you love yourself. There will be times where you feel like you love people more than they love you, but you are still only able to love them as much as you love yourself. And what that also means on the other side of the projection screen is that they can only love you as much as you love, as much as they love themselves. So if you're not feeling loved in your relationship, understand that that is coming from someone else not able to love themselves all the way, and they are looking to you to fill that void within them, and you're never going to do the job that they want you to do, and they're never going to do a good enough job for you. That is your job. And once you become complete, then really what you're doing is you're looking for someone to complement your life. Before we look for relationships and they consume our lives, now we'll be looking for relationships that complement our lives, our spiritual journeys, our hopes and our dreams, our creative outlets, and we'll be able to thrive and expand in these relationships versus having to compromise and separate from who we were in order to be in that relationship. Okay? So very exciting. Obviously, we're kind of like, we're putting out a lot of content right now in Quantum Life just because everything is changing so fast. And I want to make sure that our students have tools and techniques in order for them to have smooth sailing all the way through the next year and really start to live that unique expression of love and joy. And everything that you've ever been through is so overcomable by just changing your mind. And of course, there is follow through when it comes to that, and that's where the real work is. It is the follow through. It is being awareness. It's being in awareness. It's being obligated to only yourself and your journey. The greatest investment that you will ever make is in you. You know, I always say you can spend money 2 ways that is going to most accentuate your journey, and that is on joy and learning and remembering who you are. So thank you guys for joining us today. We will be live in Quantum Life on Monday to finish up our question and answer. And I do that live and channeled. And then we will be in Tika on Thursday night. And obviously all this will be on YouTube. And I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity to stand up here and blab for a while and pour my heart out and live in this really amazing time that we are living in. And you know, I cannot wait for us all to be in that leadership position. Because again, in the leadership position, when we're all in, none of us can be hurt. So thank you guys for attending, and I will see you all in Quantum Life.